Hello, friends. Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am your host, Tom Downey. We got a whole bunch of rumors to dive into around the Dallas Cowboys, especially around one Dak Prescott. What's the latest on his extension? Is it going to happen? I'm still going to give this one 3 stars. I think it's very likely, but until it's done, I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch. Now, here's the latest on Dak. The Cowboys and Dak have resumed contract talks. Now, the $35 million a year number is the one being thrown around right now by a variety of people. That began by some Yahoo fantasy analyst, Liz Loza. I will not give her credit because she misspelled Dak's name. If you want credit for breaking news, you have to actually spell the player's name correctly. So with Dak Prescott, the two sides have resumed talks. That is a big deal. That is notable. That's significant right now. And it appears the difference is between these two sides is if it is a 4-year deal or a 5-year deal. Now, we'll dive into a little bit why that is a significant difference for both sides and why Dak wants a shorter-term deal and why the Cowboys want a longer-term deal. But that is a significant factor involved here. So would you make Dak the highest-paid quarterback in the NFL? Type Y for yes or type N for no. In a bubble, no, I don't want to do that if I'm the Cowboys. But I also know if I get this deal done now, as opposed to waiting, 2 months, 3 months, letting Mahomes and Watson get paid, and then I don't make Dak the highest paid quarterback, I'm going to save money by doing that right now. So let's say this is the extension. This is not a full-fledged projection, just one possible option. Let's say it comes in at 4 years, $140 million, $115 of which is guaranteed, with a $50 million signing bonus. I intentionally took some round numbers there for signing bonuses. It comes in above Jared Goff in terms of guaranteed money, makes him tied with Wilson for the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. So that's the general extension that we're going to operate here for at or under as we discuss what the differences are between a 4-year deal and a 5-year deal. So this is a little bit different in terms of something we've done before on the show. But if we keep the same per year numbers in terms of 4 versus 5, it becomes a $175 million deal for a 5-year deal. So I'll do a very common what I call waterfall extension, meaning that it starts off lower and gets more expensive as the contract goes on. So in this 4-year deal example, you could have his cap hit start at $29 million. You could start it even lower. You just have to adjust the numbers, but I'm trying to keep it consistent and even here. So it goes 29, 33, 37, down to 41. He becomes a free agent in year 5, by which time the cap most likely has exploded across the NFL. So you can see why Dak would want that, right? He's getting paid $30+ million for most of those years. But then on the 5-year side of it, it actually makes more sense for the Cowboys, and this is why there's a difference involved there. You actually, kind of in reality, end up trying to save a little bit of money. We'll compare those two side-by-sides again here. It looks very different in terms of that extra year. Yes, the per year is the same, but the hits are different. You save $2 million each of those seasons. You go to 27, 31, 35, 39. Yeah, it's 43 in year 5, but look at the money you've been saving in the process. So for the Cowboys, you can see why they would want a 5-year deal. And the money might end up being similar right now, but there is a difference between 4 years and 5 years. Now, maybe they could split the difference and go with a 4-year deal for a little bit less money or a 5-year deal for a little bit more money. But I hope that kind of explains why there's some disconnect between, yeah, they might agree on the guaranteed and the per year, but that's a different question than just the actual years. If it's a longer term deal, you want to give him more per year because you're saving money on the back end in the end. So with that in mind, I'll ask you guys this question again. Would you make Dak the highest paid quarterback in the NFL? I'll make this question the pinned comment on the video, so scroll on down and cast your votes. Y for yes or N for no. Let's talk more about backups now. How about Cam Newton as a backup quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys? I love the idea behind it. I'm just not convinced it's all that realistic, so I'm only going to give it the 1 star here. I don't know if it makes sense for Newton. I do think it makes sense for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, as I'm sure you all know, Newton was cut by the Panthers because they were unable to find a trade partner. I would love to bring in Newton as a backup quarterback for Dak Prescott. I made my quarterback room significantly better. We all know that Newton is a much better player than Cooper Rush is. However, there are major medical questions. Yeah, Newton passed the physical. I don't think the Cowboys value that very much because Panthers were trying to trade him. He was always going to pass that physical. And for Newton, does he want to go to a place like Dallas where he's going to be the backup quarterback and there isn't a great path to playing time barring injury? I don't think that makes sense for the 30-year-old Cam Newton. Now, in his prime, 2015, that MVP season, Newton was a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. But 4 years have come and gone. It's a different status right now for all those parties involved because of the injury uncertainty. I'm not sure Newton's really going to be able to go about that path. So the question then for me becomes, well, if you can't get Newton, maybe you could try to pursue a different quarterback. Andy Dalton's still under contract, but maybe the Bengals end up cutting him. Jameis Winston is out there. I think there's some fun ideas in terms of upgrading at the backup quarterback spot. I think Newton and Winston might be a little bit too expensive when it's all said and done. Newton would be my first choice based only on a talent perspective. But again, it comes down to money and playing time. That's how free agency works. I wonder if Newton would have a little bit more success looking elsewhere to fill that hole and getting a chance to maybe next year get in a full-time starting job. So let's say the Cowboys actually want to finally upgrade the backup quarterback position. Which one would you guys prefer? Would you prefer Cam Newton? Would you prefer Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston? You guys can cast your votes. Type A for Newton, B for Dalton, or C for Winston. I've also got a deal to tell you guys about. Jerseys are on sale right now on Fanatics, chatsports.com/Cowboys jerseys. If you use promo code SPROUT, you see it on your screen, I'll put it in the comments and the description as well. You will save 25% off. And oh, by the way, these are super high quality jerseys, not the knockoffs overseas. They're legit ones, like this Sean Lee one right here, of which, by the way, I need to get a new one because I'm not sure how much longer Sean Lee has on the Cowboys. So you can get one. I'm going to get one as well. It's chatsports.com/Cowboys jersey. Oh, by the way, custom jerseys are also included in that deal. Now, you saw we gave 3 stars to Dak and 1 star to Cam. If it's your first time watching the show, maybe you don't know what the stars actually mean. 0 stars is the number of Carson Wentz's playoff wins. Don't believe it, it's not true. 1 star, there's a little bit of truth here, but I don't know if it's actually going to end up going down. 2 stars, firmly in that rumor category. It means the people are talking. 3 stars means it's pretty likely. And 4 stars, Zeke Seaton, it's a fact. This is a done deal. Let's move on now to Tyrone Crawford. Is he sticking around with the Cowboys? I'm going to give this 3 stars, and I'm going to take an L on this one, by the way. I know in a previous video I said I didn't see any route in which Tyrone Crawford was sticking around at his current cap hit. I think I was wrong. That's the vibe that I'm getting right now from the Cowboys. The Dallas Morning News reports they have no plans to even ask Tyrone Crawford about a pay cut, which I don't get for the record since Crawford has indicated he would be open to doing that. The Cowboys could save $8 million with the release. Now, I'm not just trying to save a whole bunch of money right now. That's not really my goal. But I am trying to maximize my cap space. Why could you do cut Crawford's base salary, $8 million base salary in half, make it $4 million? I think that makes sense. I think part of the reason why the Cowboys are hesitant to do this right now is they don't like where they sit at defensive end. They lost Quinn to the Bears on a big-time deal. Had they extended Quinn, maybe they would have then moved on from Tyrone Crawford, but you have DeMarcus Lawrence, Dorrance Armstrong. We'll see about Randy Gregory. You can't count on him. That makes you really thin. Now, this is not the path I would go. I would much rather pursue an Everson, Griffen, Jadeveon Clowney using some of the cap space savings you have by releasing or restructuring Crawford. But the Cowboys are hesitant to often go out and pay big money. We'll talk more about Griffen and Clowney here in a little bit. But Crawford does make this defensive line better. I know he doesn't put up the big-time stats and sacks, but he does the dirty work really well. And the Cowboys defensive line, They are better when Crawford's on the field, be it at defensive end or defensive tackle, playing a little bit of both. So what should Dallas do with Crawford? Type K for keep, C for cut, or P for a pay cut. I prefer to pay cut him. Can I offer, like, hey, you got an $8 million base salary. Can we take you down to 4? You still get over $5 million on the cap hit this year. That's about the right price tag to me. But I do not want to cut Crawford right now. I don't have a desperate need for the money. I've got plenty of money available, but I would ask him about a pay cut. Now, we have asked you guys before to double check that you have your notifications actually turned on. This might surprise you guys. Only 23% or 22.3% of you do. That is up 2% over the past 3 weeks, but a lot of you, I think you've got personalized on. That means you might end up missing some of our videos. So go double check, hit that bell, make sure it's on all of them, not personalized or, God forbid, on off altogether. I mentioned Griffen. I mentioned Clowney. Let's talk more in depth about this here. The Cowboys going to pass on them. I think this is pretty likely. I think it's 3 stars. I wish I could make it 1 or 2, but I just don't think that's the route that the Cowboys are going. We'll talk about Clowney to start here. The Cowboys, as we've said before, are not interested in Clowney at his current rate. Now, there was a report that he passed on $17 million from the Dolphins and passed on $18 million per year from the Seattle Seahawks. At those price tags, the Cowboys weren't going to get involved. If he drops back down a little bit lower, maybe the Cowboys could have interest, but I think we've mentioned the medical side of it for guys like Dez Bryant, Cam Newton. That's impacting Clowney. Teams can't get him in for a physical the way they would normally do. I think that makes them hesitant to pay him big money. Now, as for Griffen, I think he is the quote-unquote more likely of the 2 options here. There have been conflicting reports on the interest of Griffen, or for Griffen, I should say. Some saying, well, there's some interest there. Others saying, yeah, it's not going to happen. I kind of lean towards the latter right now. I would like to bring in Griffen as a Robert Quinn replacement, but I'm not convinced the Cowboys want to pay his market. I think he's going to get $8 to $10 million. If it's on the $8 million side, well, maybe the Cowboys might explore that. I just don't think that's really where they're at right now. Now, both of these players are good. Now, there has been some inconsistencies in their games. Clowney's pressure rate has always been great. His sack production just has never quite been what teams want it to be. He's coming off a 3-sack year. Griffen had some issues back in 2018, got through those, played great this past season, isn't going to go back to the Minnesota Vikings. So again, I would explore this very, very quickly. This is a route I would want to go if I were the Dallas Cowboys. I just don't think this is a likely path right now because, quite frankly, the Cowboys haven't shown interest in paying other free agents big-time money. So until that changes, I'm going to end up being at least just a little bit skeptical on that front for the Dallas Cowboys. Let's talk trade now. How about Curtis Samuel? I'm actually really intrigued by this one. I'm not convinced it's going to happen, so I'll give it 2 stars, but I love this idea for the Cowboys. Blog and the Boys and some others have kind of thrown this out there. When the Panthers signed Robbie Anderson, it kind of led to some speculation that, ooh, hey, maybe Curtis Samuel is not long for this team. He's only got 1 year left on his deal. I would love to find a way to bring in Curtis Samuel. Could I get him in for a 4th or a 5th round pick potentially? He would slot in instantly as the perfect fit for the Dallas Cowboys at slot receiver. He has played slot before. You could actually use him on jet sweeps. You would upgrade over Tavon Austin in that role, I think, pretty quickly. And he can also still go deep downfield as a vertical threat. That's exactly what you want right now in your wide receiver 3. And he can also play outside too, so there is some of that versatility in the end. Right now, with Tavon Austin a free agent, you're right at your first 2 receiver spots. Cooper and Gallup locked and loaded. Devin Smith, Cedric Wilson, Noah Brown, Ventel Bryant, John V. Johnson. That's not going to get the job done. So if I could trade for Samuel and I could get him for a day 3 pick, heck yeah, I'm in. I'm all over that idea. And because I'm all over it, makes me doubt that the Panthers are going to really be all that interested in pulling it off. Now, I did mention a day 3 pick for Curtis Samuel, but I want to hear from you guys. What would you give up in a trade right now for Samuel? What draft pick would it be? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. All right, back to free agency here. Let's talk about Logan Ryan. Many of you have asked me about him. I'm going to tell you guys not to get your hopes up. I'm going to give it 1 star. I just don't think the money that Logan Ryan wants, and frankly, his fit on the Dallas Cowboys, is really a great idea. Now, CBS Sports threw this out there and said the Cowboys are one of the top landing spots left. Logan Ryan was a nickel corner this past year for the Tennessee Titans. And his stats overall were pretty darn great. I mean, you can see just the raw numbers, a whole bunch of tackles for loss and sacks, crazy pass breakups and interceptions. But let's be realistic here. They're a little bit inflated. That's what happened here with Logan Ryan, because nobody in the NFL was more targeted than Logan Ryan. Yes, he did make some plays on the football. He gave up a lot of plays as well. Now you balance those numbers out, it ends up being a little bit more even, and he can be a good number 2 or number 3 for you. But I've got guys in Jordan Lewis and Anthony Brown who have already committed to, who can play that nickel corner role. If I thought Ryan could be an outside number 1 corner, I'd be all in, because that's what the Cowboys need right now. They need a legitimate number 1 guy on the outside. I've got guys that can handle my 2 through 4 role. I've got Awuzie, who I think could have a bounce back year, and I certainly hope that he does. I've got Jordan Lewis. I've got Anthony Brown. I've got Maurice Canady potentially as well. So I don't need another body at corner. What I need a number 1 guy, and I don't think that's really out there right now in NFL free agency. Logan Ryan made $10 million this past year. I think he might want something similar. I'm not paying that for him. That's simply too much money. So if his price tag comes down, I'm interested if I can get him at the Nickel Roby-Coleman deal. Sign me up. But for what I think he wants, I'm going to have to pass on that one. Hey, Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.